Really is. It'll be interesting to see how the transformation progresses, because remember, all these teams now play each other twice.
Yep.
So they're going to have a lot of time to learn about each other. We go through one full rotation of round robin in our 2-game set format, and then we go back around all over again. 2-lane maps, Ripperoni, as we head straight to the Cursed Hollow as our first map.
Now, two-lane maps are out of the equation. We don't see Battlefield of Eternity, and we're not going to see Brax's Holdout. That could allow us to maybe get onto one of those larger battlegrounds. And the first one indeed is one of those. Cursed Hollow is going to be our map number 1. Now, ESTAR so far has a 100% win rate. That doesn't surprise us because they haven't really played this map a whole lot in this very young season still. Yet, it's going to be the first time that we see KT on this map. I think they played Tumulus Battle Queen yesterday, and the second battleground I can't remember, but it was obviously not Cursed Hollow.
Indeed. So, 100% to 0% win rate. Clearly an easy win for ESTAR, if only stats actually worked like that when you only had one game statistics. So, we head into our draft phase for our first game in this third series of the day. We still have one series after this. Continue to stick around for more fantastic Chinese games as ESTAR take up the first ban.
Yeah, and you can really see how they prioritize global mobility above everything else here. They do not want to deal with that Dehaka, constantly soaking on the side lanes, constantly proving to be that nuisance that you eventually have to deal with. They might also now try to go for that one remaining true global hero, Falstad. I mean, he is a solid pick on Cursed Hollow to dominate boss fight areas as well, but they go for your good old Uther because, man, he's just too good to be neglected these days.
Uther and Genji both let through here.
Yeah,
Let's see if KT have prioritizing the Genji to get that for themselves, giving the Uther over. Remember, Uther pretty reasonable against Genji due to the high amount of crowd control he is able to offer. Genji dives in, you hit him with the stun, hit him with a second stun if you really want to go all in, but it can be very effective to counteract the hero. However, with what we're seeing a lot more double supports now, Cleanse, outside of Varian, is becoming a little bit more of a possible way to deal with that style of defending against Genji.
Exactly. Now, do they take away the Genji? Is a young and hungry team like KT brave enough to go for those big, flashy playmaking heroes like a Genji? I think they are, and they pick it.
I was about to say, if they're not, then they've seriously misdrafted this. If they weren't planning on picking Genji at that point, but they pick him up along with the Rhaegar, whereas ESTAR immediately double support the Valor Ariel, and ESTAR's comp is scary.
Hey, I take back what I said earlier. You know, ESTAR's playstyle changed. This is just classic ESTAR with Jingxi all around. They really want to protect that Vala, make her feel safe and sound, and let her carry the game in the process. Now, it is really interesting to observe that early prioritization on Rhaegar. I think KT was really nervous and worried that ESTAR might ban out heroes like Rhaegar in the course of the draft, because we have seen that the support hero pool is a little bit more vulnerable to getting banned out again with the fall of Malfurion, don't you think?
It definitely is. With Malfurion a little bit further down, he's still viable as a pick, as we've seen multiple times throughout HGC, China, and all the other regions so far. It's just not as high as a priority. So picking supports a little bit earlier has become a little bit more common practice. So now we're seeing KT doing the sensible thing, and they're starting to ban out tanks because they have first pick after the ban phase. They're going to be moving into a tank, maybe two. The Abathur ban also makes a lot of sense due to Genji being one of the best Abathur copy targets in the game.
Absolutely. There's only a few heroes that prove to be as good of a copy target as Genji. Greymane probably would be one of the few exceptions. But as you said, the Abathur-Genji combo can be so devastating. You copy the Genji, you don't even need to copy him to make him that much more dangerous. You just add him, you allow him to give him more burst damage, to get the resets more quickly. It's just such a menace, and I'm glad that ESTAR realized this potential threat.
So, KT, what do they need to go for? They need tanks. Many tanks are still available with a new banned out and Arthur's banned out. We're moving back down to the good old-fashioned, more standard tanks here. Stitches still available, but against a double support could be difficult to try and isolate and lock people down. Li Ming coming out quite early, so Tyrael. Interesting pick this early. I mean, yeah, Sank onto the Genji could be good. I would have kind of preferred a Stitches, though, due to him being one of the few tanks left with Spell Shield. Like, Tyrael has it, but not to the level that the Stitches does.
Yeah, so chat right now is going a little bit crazy over a potential Cho'Gall pick on the side of ESTAR. And while I do agree that the draft is basically laying a solid foundation, I don't think it's a good choice because of the map.
I mean, yeah, the map, it makes it already a problem due to the fact that Valor has to be with at least one of the supports, which means the other one would be solo. So that would be less than ideal, but to be fair, let's give it a chance. Let's always give all drafts a fair chance.
Yeah.
Let's count the percentage damages. 2. Blood for Blood from Tyrael and the Blood and Thunder. That's the cooldown reduction talent. Can't remember what the Feral Lunge talent is for percentage damage.
Hunger of the Wolf at 16. Yeah.
Hunger of the Wolf, that's the one. So they had 2 percentage damages, so they could have counted it. Instead, though, ESTAR, a little bit more sensibly, going with 2 tanks here. Varian could be played with something else, which would be interesting to see with the double support, but at minimum, they have some heavy lockdown from ETC and some potential lockdown from Varian.
And of course, KT would have had another pick to go, and if the Cho'Gall had been locked in, the Greymane was still available. And guess what? Curse Bullet hurts him quite a bit, and the Greymane would have fit into that roster regardless pretty nicely here. But now we don't... Yeah. But the Varian, making it in just like ETC, and that is one solid tank line if I've ever seen one. Now, Varian, does he have, or do they have the blow-up potential? Not in a classic way. Normally, you're used to seeing Li Ming in the same team as Varian if you want to go for that style. You also see the Greymane with a Cursed Bullet follow-up. But here, with a double support Vala, I don't think they're explosive enough necessarily to make him work. Do you agree?
Not sure. Vala's are pretty decent at explosive follow-ups if they go for a extra damage on the ETC level 7, the hammer-on. They could deal some follow-up damage, but we will have to see. Varian already gives it a little bit of burst damage himself. True. The final pick, though, is going to be Alarak, and I was going to mention that I would have liked to see some kind of melee hero coming in here from KT. A second tank might not have been as effective as they would have liked and would have still given them a very low damage output in terms of trying to kill off Valor or either of the supports. So I like this. There are other options. I wouldn't have minded. Like, I keep mentioning this hero because I think he's due a comeback soon, either via a small change in patch notes or via the meta really shifting towards the double support. Zul with Q builds with the healing reduction at level 20.
Okay. No, I can totally see the value of Zul on certain occasions, and I would love to see him back in the professional scene because
there's so much double support at the moment.
We used to see a lot of Zul in Europe for a while when Expert in Phase 1 was fielding him quite often with an Azebo, so you could basically balance out the early game weakness that Azebo has with Azul, who's very strong there, and then when Zul falls off in the late game, Azebo is going to compensate for it. So I would love to see this kind of approach back into the game, yeah.
Indeed, we will have to... it's going to be a while before we see it. No, this is once again my strange meta ideas of what I think would work as any kind of healing reduction. You're like, double support's so popular, play into it, play against it. We're already seeing Varian still seeing a decent play against double support comes because of the roots taking the extra radius and the level 7 healing reduction.
Even Varian with a Mortal Strike is always a formidable option in my opinion.
Indeed, a mid-season brawl, Varian dropped out of play due to the double supports being only really on the Valor compositions where they could play a bit further back, but nowadays we're seeing it outside of that as well, so Varian's moving back up in the pick order due to him giving all that healing reduction. So we're seeing a lot of we're seeing the meta continue to shift after mid-season brawl thanks to this new patch.
Alright, ladies and gentlemen, this is probably one of the more interesting series because we finally get to see a new team against a brand new roster, and we're gonna be able to evaluate how strong they all are. For now though, ESTAR in the blues, we have Toomey on his ETC, China #1 on Uther, we have Good on Vala, Kid on Oriel, and Ooze, last but not least, on my personal baby boy on the Varian.
Whereas on the right-hand side, it's a brand new team. Yes, it is. It's going to be KT, aka Kudos Top, with T-Dye on Rhaegar, Neptune on Alarak, Fury on Genji, Sieg on the Li Ming, and the Butcher playing the Tyrael.
Alright, Tetra, this is one hell of a draft here on the side of KT. I love it. They've got so much blow-up potential, if they land the Alarak combos, if they follow up with the Li Ming, if the Genji is having a good time, if Tyrael maybe even goes for a judgment, I think they have what it takes to blow up a target fast. But boy, it's going to be hard because ESTAR, man, Auriel Uther, that is probably one of the toughest support backlines you could possibly hope to crack.
Indeed it is. We also have a High King's Quest coming in for Varian. Now, we should specify, due to the changes to the parry build from Varian, it does not encourage a Twin Blades or a Colossus Smash. Yes, it could help either of those builds, but it does still help because you can still go and still get a decent amount of sustain. Rip Ooze, by the way, he is definitely going to die.
Is he? Is he? Oh.
Yes. With this build, you can still go for the shield wall at level 4, and even though you won't get as much cooldown reduction as you used to get, you can still take the second wind at level 4, so that you get healing, extra healing, which will benefit from a talent like High King's Quest. So this is still potential for a tank build.
Yeah.
It opens up the possibility of other builds. It's just you're not in that single mind of you must go parry build anymore due to the changes to Varian.
Okay, so let's analyze KT's comp a little bit more in detail and look out for potential Fury and Colossus Smash variant counters. Now, both Varian variations, the Colossus Smash and the Fury, they are susceptible to blinds because obviously you want to keep punching your enemies. Blinds, non-existent. Crowd control, stuns, not really there. The only target that could really stop a Varian is the knockback or a wave of force by Li Ming. So I think the way we just look at the enemy team comp from KT, it increases the chances of seeing either a Colossus Smash or a Fury Variant tremendously.
Indeed, so let's weigh all three of these up against each other. Taunt, who are you going to isolate? Basically anyone. Taunting Genji while he's in your backline can be devastating to a Genji, so the potential there for that is actually pretty reasonable. Now let's move on to the next one. What do you need to sustain? The Alarak Silence can be a bit of a problem if your Twin Blades or Colossus Smash that close in range. You're missing out on the extra health. If you're silenced and can't get your shield wall off, you could be in trouble if you aren't going for the second wind Twin Blades, so that you get healing that way. So there is a bit of a threat against that one. So Colossus Smash gains a little bit more viability. So right now, Taunt or Colossus Smash, a little bit higher. But once again, all of these have issues with sanctification. This is the biggest issue to any of these builds, but it affects them all equally. So right now, all three builds have their benefits, and all three builds could work in theory. It's just very much a preference and how the team wants to play the style. So right now, Uther go for a full Q build. They move, they find Genji straight away, trying to focus him down.
The stun chain was good, but the deflect was just popped in time for Fury here, so he lives to see another day for now. Can they stall out the process here, the channeling process for ESTAR? Because they did take a lot of damage already, especially on Genji, who was focused early on. Now, ESTAR is Toomey. He's in trouble. Look at that nice camera angle sweep, though. I'm loving it.
Yeah, we're seeing KT trying to wrap around the side. Genji from behind, continuing to deny. He has been a menace with those long-range shuriken pokes. Doing a good job with that. Neither team soaking lane other than top lane right now. They're all going for this tribute. So we're going to see quite a fair amount of team fighting, potentially from both these teams, as we see ESTAR attempting for a push gank, but Tyrael is the one who is scouting out. He is going to be too difficult to lock down. Both these teams, though, are creeping slowly towards the level 7. Genji having to dash away. As we see ESTAR with the wraparound. Tyrael scouts it. The Arcade Orb not able to do enough damage. The slows from the totem trying to delay as Tyrael teleports away before he's locked down. Alarak uses the telekinesis. But now the entirety of KT is completely split. Yeah. So this tribute is almost certainly going over to ESTAR. No, the lightning deny again.
So
KT
weird.
Not giving it up.
It's so weird, like both teams are posturing up so differently. We see ESTAR, of course, clumped together because of Auriel, and we see KT splitting out all over the map because they have so much poke to consistently heal them. Now, the problem is now Uther is low on mana. They get a lockdown, though, on Alarak, and he ends up falling. This might be the momentum swing ESTAR needs to secure this first tribute. In Tetcher, none of the two teams actually went for a side lane to soak. They're all committing to this beautiful team fight that is going down.
1-for-1 currently, 2-for-1.
Wow.
Uther getting taken down here, so we're seeing the focus moving on to Ooze, but Rhaegar dropping very low. He moves to Wolf to attempt to escape. Shield wall is dropped. Tyrael may drop as well as the focus moves on to Varian. While Tyrael is a distraction, we finally see Varian taken out. Ariel, while attempting to heal him, has put herself into danger. EGC moves up, and that is a 3-for-1 in favor of, sorry, a 4-for-1 in favor of KT as they take the first tribute of the game after 5 minutes and 21 seconds.
What just happened? The first tribute is not that important, guys. You can easily pass on it. Just when you realize, hey, we're getting kind of low on mana, we're getting constantly poked by the enemy team comm, it might not be the best time to go for that tribute. Let's just, you know, keep them a little bit busy and just soak elsewhere. Soak in the middle, soak in the bottom. But ESTAR, they fully committed to this. Uther was running low on mana. ETC was running low on mana, thus resulting in less healing and less self-healing overall. And KT, they just played this so patiently. They continuously harassed ESTAR while taking the first tribute. They got a forward-man kill streak here. And KT, the big no-name, the big new team in the Chinese HGC, is coming out in full swing here.
KT started this game as a question mark, and that is very quickly straightening out into a big old exclamation point as they are beginning to take control of the game. ESTAR, though, still not too far behind. XP very even, despite all those kills going over to KT due to neither team soaking lanes. So they can still attempt a move down and attempt to fight on the next tribute, or they could attempt to delay and soak for their level 10s. Right now, KT already in position. Also, it is second win for Varian, so once again, all three builds still viable. Try to focus onto Tyrael. Genji into the backline, but leaving.
So I think we might have a Twin Blade Variant on the horizon. I genuinely think that the way he built, the way they seem to have analyzed the enemy team comp. Oh, Vala, she dodges the Hungering arrow build. Li Ming with a big escape here. Wow.
That was close. That was very close. Now it is Genji trying to get locked down. They don't have their heroics to try and raid a vengeance him. So Genji shall escape this time. But one tribute to one tribute, 4 kills to 1, but levels almost exactly even. However, that bottom forge is the reason that ESTAR are even on levels, as they were able to take that down earlier despite being so far behind on kills.
Yeah, and once again, to quickly get back to the Varian build here, I think there's no reason not to go Twin Blade now. You committed to the self-heal, you committed to the parry at level 4, and of course the quest talent at level 1, which could make all of your attacks hit harder. Now, Rhaegar, he's getting attacked, but he manages to survive for now.
It's Colossus Smash. Like I said, all three builds are viable here. This puts Rhaegar in a hugely threatened position.
Yeah.
It forces Tyrael into the sanctification because he can't take the risk of having one of his allies blown up as opposed to judgmenting in for a self-destruct himself, because Uther could just straight up take Divine Shield and cancel that, and that puts you at a huge risk, so you have to play defensively yourself.
That would have actually been another reason for me to go Twin Blades, because of that Divine Shield. You could just go in and just slice and dice your target to death. But the Colossus Smash, very dangerous in its own way. They do not have, you know, the biggest of panics buttons. And Varian, he goes in, absorbs a lot of damage. ETC comes in slamming as well.
Trying to kill off Tyrael before the sanctification can be dropped. Divine Storm and Counter Strike keeps Alarak alive, and Uther is the first one in the fight to fall. We're seeing the Dragon Blade doing huge damage, but we still see Genji blown up. But Li Ming detonates the team. It's just Varian, but he has Colossus Smash. He does so much damage. He gets 1. He's going for 2. He tries to mount up, but the lightning denies him. He's 2 versus 1. Alarak is so low. Is he going to go back in, or is he not going to take the risk? Looks like he doesn't want. Oh no, he's going back in. No, should be out.
Don't do this.
Still good.
Okay, so we see that team fight to go down once again. That beautiful synergy and timing between Alarak and that Rhaegar ancestor healing. 2 people blow up at the same time. Li Ming is getting reset after reset, but Varian, thanks to his second win, he heals up like a madman and takes out Rhaegar. Man, the irony, the lore.
Yeah, looks like Varian did in fact die. Thanks to this, he did go in. Looks like Li Ming did blow him up. But yeah, this Varian, he shreds things. Remember, Colossus Smash is not just the heroic of the yell and vulnerability. It does also increase your attack damage while lowering your health, I believe.
No, it lowers your health. But it increases your attack damage by 100 or 150%, one of the two.
Indeed. So he now is going for, he is now more of a, let's put like a melee assassin, more of a bruiser. So he now hits really, really hard each time he hits and is an engaged hero. He's already completed 1 stack of his High King's quest. He's 1/3 of the way there. And now each one of these gives benefits due to a change about 2-3 patches ago.
Yeah, exactly. So Varian, man, not just does he have the beautiful vulnerable effect applying from his Colossus Smash, but as you said, his auto attacks, they hit like a truck. But keep in mind, Second Wind does not scale with auto attack damage, it scales with max HP. So it is a little bit, you know, interfering because he lost max HP in the first place because of Colossus Smash, but it's still a lot of health to be regenerated.
Yeah. You can still get a good amount of sustain out of it. It's still percentage hit points. You still have shield wall. You can get some really good value out of it. He has, in fact, as we appear to be following him right now, just hit his next talent as he is going to be taking the Mortal Strike, taking the healing reduction as we were talking about earlier before the game started.
Yep, there we go. So KT, they're going for a boss here. They're sneaking it in, but so does ESTAR. It's really cool to see that both teams got the timing right, and none of the teams is actually going to get ganked here. Now, the bottom boss is going to be a little bit more threatening because we saw ESTAR take down the fort earlier. So I think it's going to be KT to immediately defend this if they don't want to lose the fort wall and maybe the keep.
We will have to see right now.
ESTAR
moving up.
Did they see him?
No,
they
did
not.
Push. Tyrael scouts it out with the Elder Rin's Might. He could wrap around behind the rest of his team, but he needs to save with them for the potential sanctification if he's able to drop it. No, it's not available yet. Sorry. So it's going to be Alarak who is dropped first. Rhaegar getting focused down from behind as well as Alarak is no longer available. We're seeing the rest of KT pull back, and now they really do have to be back and defend. They choose not to. They choose to delay a little bit longer before finally pulling back. But the boss has already, because of that, reached reach that wall, reach the keep wall. Now with the curse available, that's going to be even more damage. So we see everyone from KT moving down to that bot lane to defend it.
Yeah, KT was caught between a rock and a hard place. Do they want to defend the boss or do they give up the curse? I think they tried to do the right thing. I think contesting the curse was a little bit more important than defending the boss and giving a free curse over to ESTAR, which they would have then allowed them to push middle and top respectively. So it was just unfortunate that the focus by ESTAR was so well executed with the KT, Alarak getting focused down by the Colossus Smash, that they lost a member so early. The Ancestral probably wasn't there in time to save the Alarak. Not this time, at least. The Counter-Strike also used very, very early on. I mean, they do have tons of protection, right? The Sanctification, the Counter-Strike, the Ancestral. Unfortunately, this time, it wasn't executed, and it cost them the curse.
And this is an interesting thing, that the Colossus Smash is starting to make a little bit more sense due to the two main saving abilities from KT being Ancestral and Sanctification, both of which require a wind-up. You can bait them out super early, and they require a wind-up. So if you're able to blow up or bait out, you still get a win, as long as you don't overcommit yourself, which, with this build, Varian is still very sustainy, so he is able to pull back without being in too much danger. And with ETC going for almost a full W build, he's able to peel for Varian even more. So they actually have huge potential to bait out those big save abilities and then blow up once those abilities have been used.
Now, 2/3 of the High King's quest on Varian have been completed, and I would assume that the Regeneration Globe part is still the one missing, because normally it takes the longest to complete. Now, that increases his auto attack damage even more. And I think he just did it. Okay, full Super Saiyan mode now engaged on Varian.
He now hits... he used to hit like a truck, now he hits like a battleship as he's moving around the map. Looking for Tyrael here. Remember last time he tried to engage onto Tyrael to blow him up before Sank could be used, and there's still potential to do that again.
Here we go. Now, there's a lot of scary burst damage coming in. And I also want to highlight China #1 here on the Uther. His follow-up with those Divine Storms on the Varian initiation have been stellar. Now, a nice shoot from Seeing. Is he going to get burst down? Look at that Li Ming getting popped, baby.
Colossus Smash. That is how you blow someone up. When you're able to engage onto that low health target, Ancestral was dropped, but like we said, it has a wind up. It can't instantly save someone like maybe a Karazim pub could.
Even Tyrael's Sanctification has a 1 second, casting animation, and it's very hard for Tyrael to be there in the first place immediately because of the small radius of a Sanctification. So I really love the explosive playstyle that ESTAR brings to the table here. However, KT is not out of this just yet. They still have the keeps. They still only have one level disadvantage. So if they get a good fight for themselves, if they manage to deny all the burst damage coming in from ESTAR, they can easily stabilize, I feel.
It only takes one good sanctification for them to turn around.
True.
They have top lane open. That's their own boss lane. Once that's respawned, they are one tribute away from a curse. If all these stars can align for KT, they are still in a position for a comeback, as they are still even on talents, at least, even though being a level behind.
And this might be their curse to take. They're in there first. Their rotation is faster, superior. Can they posture up nicely? The holy ground is available. They isolate ESTAR very handsomely. Can they get the Uther? ETC stage dive in the back, though.
EDC trying to wrap around to join up with Uther to try and protect him. Ariel with a nice attainment strike. Divine Storm to try and turn it around, but the Dragon Blade is so much damage. Uther staying alive, though. Tyrael is the first one to fall. Sanctification was interrupted before it could be used. Rhaegar trying to drop the damage as well, but this is a massacre by ESTAR. Vala trying to chase onto Li Ming, but she's so far out of there, it's not even close.
100% raw energy, manly power from Oz here on the Varian. I don't know what it stands for. It just appeared to me. Now, that Varian, did you see how much damage he absorbed with one protection, one instant of shield wall? It was amazing. He took an Arcane Orb, he took the Tyrael explosion to the face. He didn't care. And of course, they still have the double support that even if he took a lot of damage, they can easily patch him up. And ESTAR, they are making this manly Colossus Smash comp work like a charm.
Yes, they are. We see Varian come out to play this time. They have ETC. He's still getting them global potential. He's currently acting as a ward to scout out the enemy boss.
Exactly. Now, they don't really need the mighty count to deal with this boss in the bottom lane, so it's nice to have a little bit of extra vision because of the fact that they just annihilated the enemy team comp. It was very safe for ETC to move there in the first place. He does have the stage dive as an emergency exit if things get a little bit too heated up anyway. So, is he going to... No.
Number 13 Encore? Because if
wait,
then
They're going
could.
For it.
He's moving in. The rest of the team's on the way. All ETC has to do is delay. Sanctification is available. He's not going to delay. Instead, he's going to go for the kills.
He's going for the kill here. The boss has been taken by KT, though. They kill in. They go ham with that Colossus Smash. They take one out. The second one is about to fall. Genji is no more. Tyrael also getting stunned and taken out by the endless sea of stuns. It is just a beauty to behold here. ESTAR 3 kills. That could be enough for the game, because keep in mind that they have a mighty angry boss pushing in that bottom lane as well.
And the Ancestral Healing not even able to be used there. Rhaegar was so zoned out and everyone died so quickly, he wasn't able to get it down. Now we even have the splashing Colossus Smash.
Look at Varian's damage.
Dominant ending game here by ESTAR. They're going to be able to take this game. Well played by them. KT, though, in the early game at least, put up a fight. But once again, ESTAR, it's not so much a draft win. That is a talent win. Super nicely played by them.
Yeah, ESTAR, they had a plan, they came, they saw it, and they conquered it. It was a beauty, an absolute beauty, because as a Western audience, or as a Western commentator team, we're not used to seeing Colossus Smash. In fact, at the mid-season brawl, I think it was Super Perfect Team who gave it a try once again. A team from China. China is willing to experiment with the Varian, to play the Twin Blade, to play the Colossus Smash, and they make it work. And it's not like, you know, KT had a bad draft by any means. It was just that all their safety buttons, all their panic switches could not be triggered in time.
Yeah. KT drafted around the standard picks in terms of talent. They're like, okay, if they're on Taunt, we've got some good interrupts, we've got some good saving potential, we can probably keep people alive while they're locked down. They didn't draft around getting detonated. And as such, that's exactly what ESTAR went for. That's exactly what ESTAR went for. And that was an exceptionally well-played game by them. But KT, in terms of play style, not so much in terms of the draft or in terms of the talents, in terms of play style, they were looking really, really good against ESTAR. And that was only game number 1. If they can maybe have a bit more of a secure draft and avoid that kind of thing happening to them again, then they might be able to get the... they might be able to bring the score to a 1-1. I have faith in them a lot more now after seeing that game.
Yeah. KT has impressed me quite a bit. Not only were they able to hold their ground in the early game, actually winning the first couple of team fights with a really nice chain of protection, right? The Ancestral Healing and the Counter-Strike, they just worked so well together. On the other hand, they crumbled a little bit under the pressure in the late game. So if they can work on those weaknesses in the later stages of the game, it is definitely possible for them to tie out this series.